call the roll.
Miller,
Here.
Allison Osby,
Here.
Herman, Mugrower,
Here.
Krause,
Here.
Peschel,
Here.
Palmieri,
Here.
present 6.
And unfortunately, our Deputy Mayor, Steve Herman, was unable to join us this evening. He did share with me that it's okay to say that he's experiencing some back issues, and so we wish him a speedy recovery. Next, we'll have the invocation. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. We are mindful of the blessings of liberty that we have in this nation. May our decisions tonight improve the quality of life in our city and for all of our residents.
And Xander Wolf and Abby Brand will be leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for leading us. Would you like to say your name, what school you are from, and what your favorite subject is?
My name is Xander Wolf, and I go to Martin Luther in Oshkosh, and my favorite subject is reading.
Excellent, mine too.
My name is Abby Brand. I go to Grace Lutheran Oshkosh, and my favorite subject is math.
Thank you very much. And we will be sending your certificates through your principals because unfortunately we weren't able to print them. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And next we have the first opportunity for citizen statements to council. Do we have anyone registered to speak?
Yes, we do. Jared Tierney, 1711 Ontario Street.
All right, very good. Citizens are to address the council only. Statements are limited to 5 minutes, must address items that are not listed on the council meeting agenda, are limited to issues that have an impact on the city of Oshkosh, and the common council may address at a future meeting, and must not include endorsements of any candidates or electioneering. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Manager, who's missing today this evening, distinguished members of the City Council. I'm here today before you to follow up with you in person on a matter that I have previously brought to this body's attention. I stand here today representing the 4th generation of a family-owned business that has been serving Oshkosh since 1932. From my great-grandfather, Ollie Davies, to my grandfather, Donald Davies, to my uncle, Glenn Davies, Oshkosh City Cab has taken great pride in servicing this community and being part of its rich history. We have been there. We took your first ride home from the hospital. We took you to school when you missed the school bus. We took you back and forth to work when you were having those car problems. After a Packers game, win or loss, we get you home safely. When it comes time that it seems like you have more doctors than you have friends, we're there to get you to those much-needed appointments. On those heartbreaking occasions, we will take you one last time past the zoo, through the park, and just maybe the Christmas lights will still be up. Oshkosh Cab has been here, and we are here. As I have stated in my letters, and I wish to put it on record today, a review of the city's transportation regulations must be conducted. The Transportation Board must review the regulations and requirements allowing Uber and Lyft and other companies providing transportation services in our community. These shadow companies are operating as carpetbaggers. With multiple cab companies and the allowance of corporate transportation companies to operate, they have become poachers of an industry which places other companies vulnerable. We act on behalf of the city, community, and providing city and state programs. These programs leave us vulnerable to competition that does not meet the same standards of operational requirements, but allows direct competition. This practice of disproportionate regulation is unjust and is picking winners over losers. This practice not only threatens long-standing local institutions, but the vulnerable members of our community. This service that we provide puts people over profit, placing our community service at a greater importance. We do not wish to lower standards, but to raise them to the level in which we are regulated. After all, we are taking your mother, your grandmother, to that very important appointment, making sure that your children have a safe ride home. We keep our neighborhood safe by participating in the Tavern League Safe Ride program. The members of our community expect us to work on this issue in a proactive manner instead of a reactionary one. We owe it to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else registered to speak?
No one else is registered.
All right, next we'll move on to consent agenda items. Do we have anyone registered to speak for consent?
No one is registered.
Back to council for motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I just have one item, and that's Resolution 20-49, a couple of questions about the sale of fermented malt beverages at Menominee Park by Parks Department staff. And your name?
Jenny McCullion.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
So can you explain a little bit about how this came about and what the plan is?
Sure. So we always work with a lot of different communities that we, in our area, in different areas. So beer gardens are something that's really become well-known in a lot of different communities. Just to name a few, De Pere, Sheboygan, Milwaukee, Franklin, Wauwatosa, there's a ton of different ones that do these beer gardens. It's going to be, we're hoping it would be much like the Leach, just an event to bring people down to the park, get them to use our amusement center, the zoo, the new playground. So just kind of a social gathering that would have music and food trucks and just yard games, different things that families can just come and enjoy the nice weather in the summer and just visit and socialize. And again, just to bring more awareness to all of our areas and also more revenue to our areas. So that's kind of where we came up with them.
So is it thought that this would be weekly, monthly, an experiment, or indefinite? What's the plan?
This year we're hoping to do one a month, so one in June, July, August, and September.
Okay, so we are looking at changing, or we're looking at approving it just for this year then?
The hope would, of course, to move forward. I mean, if it's a good outcome and people like it, just like we started the Leach several years ago. The way we do the Tuesday night concert series down there. We have the bounce houses for the kids. We have children's entertainment. So it certainly would be something we'd like to move forward with. As long as things go well this year.
So just one more point here. So then is the money raised from those events going to go directly into the amusement center itself, or is it get spread out amongst all the parks?
It'll go into future events in the parks.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Krause.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple questions. So would this be a roped-off section that alcohol would be served, or would it just be open park?
We're looking to have it so where we'd be serving out of would be the Kiwanis shelter. And then the area where we'd have bands and food trucks would be that area between the Kiwanis shelter and the amusement center. So that families could use the train and the whip ride, and also could do the yard games, could get food from the food trucks, but we'd be serving it out of the Kiwanis shelter.
And then the people serving the alcohol would be city employees? Would they have
Staff.
proper training? Or-
Anybody who serves alcohol, so at our Ball Diamonds or at the Leach Amphitheater, they do have to have their responsible bartenders class, and they do have to file their license with the clerk's office.
Okay.
And that's good for 2 years. And then every 2 years, you would have to do that again. So at any event we do right now that we do have alcohol, there always has to be someone there with that license and training.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Mugrower.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I think it's great. I think it's something new, it's something different, and it's about getting people into the parks for different reasons. Not much different than the Senior Center and the Friends of the Senior Center doing their food truck rallies at South Park on Fridays, which are fantastic. They've been a great success for the Senior Center and the Friends of the Senior Center. And it's not a whole lot different than the Ball Diamond, a few thousand yards away selling beer for softball games. I think it's great, just something new, trying to get people and families back into the parks. I know not everybody is in favor of using alcohol as a means, but unfortunately, it works, and it is what it is. But so I appreciate and applaud the efforts to try something new and see what happens.
And if I could just ask a question in between, Councilmember Peschel. Councilmember Mugrauer said it's not different than the Food Truck Fridays at South Park. Do we sell alcohol there too? I thought this was different.
They do. The Friends group does sell
Oh, they
alcohol
do?
at those as
Okay.
well.
I
Mhm.
wasn't aware.
Yeah.
I bought food, I just didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
they do.
Councilmember Peschel.
Sure. So a couple questions. So this, we're asking specifically for Menominee Park, correct?
Correct.
So this only relates to Menominee Park. It can't be used at any park?
At this time, yes, Menominee Park is what we
Okay.
have set forward.
And so you talked about comparing it to the Tuesday evening concerts, which are great event, great concerts, very family friendly, appreciate those. Though I don't get to go to as many, so. What day of the week are you thinking?
So looking at our schedule and with the Friends group doing Friday nights and with the concerts being Tuesdays, we're looking at the second Wednesday of each month, June through September.
Okay. And is the thinking that this is only going to remain one a month for that period of months, or is there a thought that there could be spreading this out and creating more access on a more reoccurring basis other than once a month?
This year, we're looking at once a month.
Okay, so
going
potentially.
forward, potentially it could be more often, but this year we're looking at 4 of them to start it out and see how it goes. And again, bring more, the amusement center, we're really looking to bring more people. I can't tell you how many times I'm somewhere and they're like, what, there's a train in the park? Or, they
Sure.
don't even know it's there. So having it in this area would bring families down and be like, oh, we can ride the train, we can do water, we can do these different things. So it's just bringing awareness to what we offer in the park and hoping that it'll increase the numbers at the zoo, the playground, the amusement center, all those areas.
Sure. A couple other questions. All of the amenities that you offer at the amusement shelter there already, I mean, some of that stuff's changed because some of the equipment has gotten older. It's not feasible to replace it and stuff. And then just in general, the usership has probably changed a little bit too in regards to that. But you indicated that, like the water equipment that we have there and everything, and all of that right now can be used, not right now, but in the summer and spring months and fall, can be used on a regular schedule into the evening as well currently?
Right now, staff is working on kind of a new plan for the amusement center that we'll be bringing forward to Park Board next month. Just kind of adjusting some of the hours and things. And again, we're trying to just relook at that area and what we do want
Sure.
to do with that area, since the carousel is now gone. And so staff is working on that right now.
Okay.
Currently, we're open until 6 o'clock is what we've been open till in the past.
Sure.
So on these nights, we would extend our hours to be open with the beer gardens,
Okay.
For how late? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
5 to 9.
Okay. And so, in all transparency, we as the council received an email from a local business person. I'm related to that person, so I'm going to express that. But he had a concern about the city starting to play more of a role in the use of alcohol purchases in our county parks and not our county, but our city parks, and that being a kind of a competitive nature there. So just your thoughts on that, or Ray's thoughts on that, whoever wants to attack that.
I think we had that same concern voiced when we started the Tuesday night concert series, probably 5 years ago. There was talk by some of the downtown businesses that they felt we might be taking some of their business. We have not heard that complaint since we've had the Tuesday night concerts, and I think, just like Waterfest, we try to get people downtown or in certain parts of the city where they will go out either before or after that potentially, and use some of those other businesses or services. So that's the one example I have as far as the Tuesday nights, and we have not heard complaints from any businesses that we're taking away their business at this point.
Sure. And I actually don't disagree with you. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage people to use our treasures of our community more. So I think that doing this allows more people, allows more families to be able to come into our parks. So, and I think it's encouraging to see using a tool that we have to get more people in there. So, thanks.
City Attorney Lawrenson, could I ask you a question? So if we have the beer gardens there at the amusement center and our staff is serving, we're acting as a host, if those guests then utilize the kayaks or any of those things, do we have any concerns there?
We have waivers for liability for the water rides, I believe, and I'm not sure if that covers anything else, but we've worked on those, and you have to sign those in order to be using them. I would also assume that if staff identified some issues with someone, that they would also step in, but I'll let Ray address that.
Yeah, as Lynn said, we do, anybody using the water equipment, we have worked with the city attorney's office to come up with a liability waiver. If it's a youth, they have to have their parents sign it, of course, or underage. And I guess we do have that occasionally where our staff has to say we can't allow you to use it, because as you know, anybody can come into the park and have alcohol currently.
Right,
They can
sure.
carry it in, so we do have to keep an eye on some of those situations.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun events. I'm just kind of concerned that if we start to have to use alcohol as a way to incentivize, or selling alcohol as a way to incentivize, I just feel slightly concerned from that end of it, but appreciate the work that went into the creative approach to trying to activate those spaces more. I just, yeah, I'm not entirely comfortable with us serving alcohol at every event, but that's my personal approach. Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to do this right now 4 times this year and everything, but we're basically the same as what we do at the Leech or anything else. It's
Correct, we're planning on, not as big as bands as that we have at the Leech. It'll be more like a background band, kind of playing music so people can talk and visit. Food trucks, yes, serving drinks, alcohol, as well as, sodas and water and stuff like that, as well as food trucks.
so people who are in the parks already, they can drink alcohol and do what they want without getting it from us. Is
Whether
that
we sell it
accurate?
or not, they can come and
Okay.
sit at a table and drink beer, yes.
Okay, so we're not discriminating and saying you can only buy beer here or anything like
No.
that? Okay,
No.
all right, great idea, thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. That was what I was wondering, if it was going to restrict people.
Nope.
Councilmember Peschel.
I guess I just want to hear that, a more clear answer to Bill in regards to that. So I think earlier when you started, you talked about there being kind of a roped off area.
I don't believe it'll be roped off. It'll just be the area around the
just
Kiwanis
between
shelter.
the amusement and the
Yeah.
Kiwanis. And alcohol will be able to be imbibed in that whole general area, or anywhere can they take it from, they can purchase there and go anywhere in the park then,
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
They can do-
essentially?
Just like on a softball game that takes place at the REITs, they can buy the beer there. They can bring it in, which they shouldn't be doing at the REITs, but they do. But they can buy it at the concession stand and go down anywhere within the park and
Or they
consume that.
could they bring in their own beer?
Yes, we're not going
Okay,
to,
we're not
like
gonna
at the
restrict
Leech, we
that?
do restrict that because we've got gated entries, and the only revenue source we have is the concessions. So that's a little different. But no, at this site, we don't foresee discouraging carrying-ins.
Okay, all right.
Councilmember Krause.
I just had a concern about the zoo. So my understanding is we're going to be able to carry beer in right into the zoo up until 9 o'clock, and the zoo will be open that late? Because
The zoo closes at 7 p.m.
so the zoo won't be part of this?
Yeah, we wouldn't change that. So the zoo, that's on the other side of the park.
Sure.
So that would have its original hours with that. Our gift shop, our Lakefly Cafe, and the zoo would still close at 7 p.m.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
So I'd like to move that 20-49 be pulled for a separate vote.
I'll second it.
You don't, yeah,
You
it's
don't.
just
Yeah.
pull it,
Yeah.
Yep.
preference.
Any other items on consent agenda? All right. So if we can vote on consent minus 20-49.
Move,
It's been moved. and
all right,
seconded.
second.
Ready?
Yes, please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
All right. So back to 20-49. Any further discussion on 20-49
Still
before
gotta
we
move it.
vote?
We have to move it.
I move 20-49.
Second.
Discussion. All right, please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
No.
carried 5-1.
All right. Next, we have pending ordinances, ordinance -20-51. Approved parking regulations on Third Avenue and MacArthur Road. Traffic and Parking Advisory Board recommends approval. Do we have anyone registered on this ordinance?
No, we do not.
All right. Back to council for motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
Next, we have 20-52, approved zone change from suburban mixed-use district, SMU, to suburban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay, SMU PD at 2116 Jackson Street and 313 Allen Avenue, tentatively 2120 Jackson Street. Do we have anyone registered on this item?
No, we do not.
All right, council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Please call the roll.
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
Next, we have ordinance 20-53, approved zone change from single-family to district SR2 to corporate business park district plan development, CBP PD for property located at the north 1600 block of Oshkosh Avenue. Do we have anyone registered on this item?
No one is registered.
Back to council for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Lyons, do you want to just give a quick, or Mr. Davis? I'm sorry. Either of you, would you like to just give a quick summary of this?
Yes, these are two parcels that are immediately east of the current Casey's along Jackson Avenue, and then between that and Mary Jewel Park.
Oshkosh Ave.
Oshkosh Ave, excuse me. And they were previously single-family homes. The developer that's been developing that area had purchased those properties previously. We're ready to move forward with it at development area, so we need to bring it into a common zoning with the rest of the properties.
All right, thank you so much. All right. Any further discussion? If not, would we please take the roll?
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
Next, we have two new ordinances. There would be no formal action taken on these items. 20-54, approved zone change from urban mixed-use district to urban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay for properties located at the 700 block of South Main Street. Plan Commission has approved this. Do we have anyone registered for this item?
No one is registered.
All right. And Mr. Davis or Mr. Lyons, would you like to just give a description of this item?
I can do that since it's RDA owned. The RDA has solicited proposals for this property. They received 4 proposals, and one of them they selected as pending right now, but we thought we'd set the groundwork as to put a planned development on this so that we can respond to any proposed site plan that would come back to RDA and Plan Commission and Council before it gets approved.
And I did have a question from someone in the community who asked for an explanation of plan development. And can you talk about what that flexibility or what that plan development does for flexibility, please? Either of you.
Yep. Once you zone to a plan development, it gives the city the ability to grant base standard modifications or waivers from certain zoning code requirements during basically a zoning through negotiation process where they can ask for relief from a zoning requirement, and in lieu of it, maybe they choose to provide additional landscaping, greater architectural elements. So provide some flexibility to the site to help unique developments take place and help really meet some site constraints that may be there.
So basically, everything doesn't neatly fit in the box that we sometimes
Doesn't neatly
draw.
fit in the black and white ordinance. Plan development gives us a little bit more flexibility that we can treat each development a little more uniquely. The exact characteristics of it can be addressed through the plan development.
All right, thank you. Next, we have 20-55, approve request to attach to the city from town of Nakai Williams, voluntary attachment 3403 Oregon Street. Do we have anyone registered?
No one is registered.
All right, very good. And then we move on to new resolutions, 20-56, approve specific implementation plan for commercial development at 2116 Jackson Street and 313 Allen Avenue, Plan Commission approved. Anyone registered on this item?
No one is registered.
Very good. Back to council for motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. All right, can we please take the roll?
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby. Aye. Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
Next, we have 20-57, approve specific implementation plan for office and retail development located at the north 1600 block of Oshkosh Avenue. Is there anyone registered to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
All right, back to council for motion in a second.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. All right, can we please take the roll?
Miller,
Aye.
Allison Osby. Aye. Mugrower,
Aye.
Krause,
Aye.
Peschel,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6.
And then we have council discussion and direction to city manager and future agenda items. We have a few workshops coming up. Our draft sawdust district plan on February 11th at 5 PM. And is that open to the public?
All of these are open to the public, and there's also some other work with the sawdust district plan process.
Yes, that'll be still held tomorrow night here on the 4th floor at City Hall.
All right.
The second one, Madam Mayor, I had a presentation from staff yesterday regarding the public safety facility feasibility study. GoEDC is ready to go pretty much whenever, but the council had asked during the budget process to bring back once the books were closed, and please don't ask me today when the books are going to close, because this isn't a good day to do that, but once the books are closed, we certainly want to have a discussion about what CIPs, facility-related, the council wants to look at. The facility study might be one that you might want to see close to or at the same time as we're discussing the financing part. Staff brought it up to me yesterday, and I felt I needed to bring it up to give you the option. Do you want to ask OEDC to go back to the following meeting after that, and then have the public facility, FGM, providing the public safety building facility study at that time? It's certainly your call. We can, both groups will understand, but I think FGM, because of what's going on with council's desire to want to deal with that funding issue, it might be more timely to do them first.
That makes sense to me. How do the others feel?
I'm okay with that. I don't know that we need, I'm of the mindset, I don't know that we need to see that study before we make those recommendations. I think we had a pretty good kick at the can during the budget process personally. That's just how I feel on it. I don't need to see that study before those 2 or 3 things come back for our approval. But I could see why the timing of them could be important or could be wise to keep them close together.
Yeah, our goal is to have the FGM report, I believe, by the end of next week. So you'll have a couple weeks to be looking at it.
Okay.
And without revealing any big secrets, it's going to be comparable to the City Hall study. You can do all this, you can do this, and do a much smaller version. And we're thinking it's probably going to be more towards the modest end because we have a lot of facility needs, as we've talked about. And that's probably what we're going to be bringing forth in terms of funding, is the more modest approach, at least to put a Band-Aid on it for the time being. So I don't want to get too far ahead of that, but there may be value to seeing all the options that are available to council so that you understand when you're approving something, you got that background. That's where I was leaning towards that. And I'll leave it to Alan to explain it to Jason White that we're pushing him back yet again, but I think it'll be okay.
He's got thick skin, he can handle it.
How do the others feel about that? Taking a workshop spot for that?
That's fine, push them both back. So,
Yep.
yeah, B and C, and then insert that one.
Okay. Thank you. And the workshop on the website change, we'll push that back, and then you'll see that. And that's really going to be more, optional may not be the right word, but certainly it's going to be a hands-on workshop. If you have interest in specific areas, we're going to be setting up multiple workstations for the council to come in at their convenience during that hour before the meeting. So if you got 10 minutes, you want to look at it,
Would we
you
just
can
bring our tablets?
you can
or-
certainly do that, but if there's any more, but we'll have them set up ready to go, so you can look at it that way as well.
All right. Next, we have a recommendation from the Ad hoc Committee on Alternative to Special Assessments, and Councilmember Mugrauer will give us an update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the members that volunteered on the Special Assessments Committee. Throughout the process, they were dedicated to the task, they were engaged in the topic, and we had some great discussions. The collective group represented about as many property types as possible. We had owner-occupied residential owners, we had single and multifamily residential owners, commercial and manufacturing owners and renters, nonprofit, institutional properties. It was a very good cross-section of property types in this community that were represented. And those individuals, they brought multiple points of view to the table, and they were willing to actively listen. They were willing to engage with each other. And I thought it was a very positive activity and exercise that we went through for those 5 months. Additionally, I want to thank City Manager Roloff. I know his admin, Ms. Moran, City Attorney Lawrenson, Finance Director Van Gumpel, and Public Works Director Robbie. They were extremely responsive to our requests, and their involvement and their knowledge were very helpful in moving that process along at the pace that it went along. As well as Chamber President John Casper for attending and adding to the group discussions. It was good to see him there. After 5 months of work, the ad hoc committee recommended to council that we institute a transportation utility that would be simple and helpful, while recognizing that different types of properties have different impacts on our transportation system. They recommended a flat $8 fee to single and two-family residential parcels, as well as a $50 to all other types of parcels that would cover all special assessments in the city of Oshkosh. That includes sidewalks, aprons, street reconstruction, and all laterals. So once again, all special assessments would be covered by their suggestion or their recommendation. And this was for developed parcels. I think that's also key, because anything that was undeveloped would not be assessed any charges under their recommendation. Their intent was to have this take effect in 2020, so that those improvements made this year that would normally be special assessed wouldn't. At this point, I want to caution council. I want to caution members of the media, as well as anybody in attendance and listening at home. We're not there yet. This is not done. There's plenty of work left to do. So I just want to make sure that there is tempered expectations on this, that we have work to do, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Staff has work to do to fully vet the full recommendation and determine any obstacles we have to overcome in order for this to work out. And then once staff has had that chance, I think it'd be appropriate if I requested a closed session with City Attorney Lawrenson to confer with our council in terms of any of the legal ramifications that this may or may not cause, and just so she can give her guidance to us as our council. if council, if this council directs staff to continue doing some work on this to refine it at all. There's a couple key points I just wanted to point out that this committee acknowledged were important. They recommended an alternative approach be adopted. The status quo or the current model should not continue, and that was unanimous when asked of this board or of this committee. They recommended that something be a monthly fee approach, and they recommended an approach that differentiates between different types of parcels, residents and non-residential properties. They appreciated the difference between those two types of entities and those property owners, and that's a different impact to our system. They also recommended simplicity over something extremely complicated. They wanted to keep this as easy as to understand as possible. They were emphatic that we educate the public prior to, during, and after any council action. That was beyond having a big impact and keeping this simple. At every discussion point, it was talked about educating the public as much as possible and as often as possible. In general, I don't know that we do a good enough job. I think there's never a perfect way to educate the public, but we need to do anything and everything possible. And what was nice was members of the committee more than volunteered to be advocates for their recommendation and to get out into the community themselves and to try to educate. So that was nice to hear. And finally, throughout the conversation, it was discussed that we as a city, we've got to look at additional ways to fund our improvements to our transportation system. And through those discussions that we had, whether it's a modest wheel tax, working with our state partners to create an entertainment district sales tax, as we are Wisconsin's event city, and partnering with Winnebago County's Board of Supervisors and the county executive to institute a 0.5% sales tax in Winnebago County, in which Oshkosh and all municipalities would receive a substantial share of their revenue. Those were all things that we discussed in depth, that it is time that we start looking at those things to make sure that this community is fully funding its transportation system and has a way to improve its system and get there at a much better pace than we're currently doing. We are falling way behind in terms of improvements to our system, and we've got to find a way to attempt to catch up. And lastly, the issue of transportation funding is not going away. So whether this council decides to do something or not, the issue is not going away. Whether it's the city of Oshkosh, the region, or just the state in general, transportation funding is a sticking point, I think is a modest way of putting it, and we've got to find ways to do it. So whether it's the city of Neenah implementing their transportation utility fee, or many other communities that are investing their time and their resources, this issue is not going away anytime soon for us or for other communities. So with that, that's my statement. But they instituted, or they recommended we institute a flat fee approach that was simple for people to understand.
So do I understand that you're requesting we set up a closed session to discuss any kind of legal vetting that needs to go along with this? Will there be a document for some kind of policy recommendation document for us to share with the public to get their input as well? What are your timeframes? What are you thinking?
So other than, as in any of our boards and commissions, when they make a recommendation, they're doing just that. They're recommending to council further action or an improvement to the process. If we want to direct staff to use resources and time to put together a full package, a full policy package, we can do so. But I think it's appropriate that that we talk with council and make sure that we understand all sides of the issue legally, because this is it's a community issue, and obviously we've had some guests here that have taken the approach that they're going to use the legal system to potentially stop us from any action that we take. So I think it's appropriate to speak with her to make sure that we're covering all our bases and all our T's are dotted and I's are crossed.
Councilmember Allison Osby.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you, Mr. Mugrauer, for giving a very thorough and complete update to the process. I actually talked to a couple of folks on Monday who were part of the process and were very pleased with the discussion, the collaboration, it sounds like at times enthusiastic discussion of the topic, and it certainly has been a challenging one and one that's been around for quite a while. That was probably one of my biggest concerns is obviously is whatever we implement, is it going to be something that's going to stand up? So I would certainly be in favor if that is something that falls within our ability is to meet and discuss it, because I certainly don't think we want to present anything to the public that potentially would come back and have some illegal ramifications. So I'm certainly for that, but I definitely, I haven't really, I've heard about it, I've seen it on social media, and, but outside of that, I really genuinely appreciate the work that's been put in the last 5 months to tackle this issue, because boy, it's been a tough one. So thank you.
City Manager Roloff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate all the work that the committee did. One of the things that staff had done for council, which I think what the mayor was alluding to is, and certainly a city attorney has recommended it, before we do anything related to any fee, there needs to be findings. So that captures a methodology to support the reason why we're doing it the way we're doing it. Because any challenge can get into that. And so I agree with Councilmember Mugarauer, who is chair of the ad hoc committee, that we need to go through those types of things, because those will be the tests that ultimately, if there's a challenge, that we'd have to go through. So ultimately, we have to do exactly what the mayor is suggesting that we do. That was done back in July when the council rejected the first proposal. There were findings, and even though there's findings, that doesn't mean you have to vote for it. The council didn't do it in that time, and they certainly have the ability to vote up or down on this, but the idea is that you say you've done research and you have findings, and you're going to basically announce those. I would encourage you to read over multiple times City Attorney Lawrenson's November 22nd, 2019 memo. I think that lays it out very well. She wrote it 2 months before the committee made the recommendation, and I'll give Lynn some credit. It was a bit prophetic, because you have to do these things when you move forward. So I'd encourage you to read that, and I think as you prepare for a closed session, that'll give you a pretty good idea of what questions you may want to ask.
I would just add that I guess some of the findings that would be helpful is how the recommendation was determined, and again, that methodology. So not looking for a master's thesis or anything, just an executive summary of some of the findings would be helpful before we go in there. All right, next we have the second opportunity for citizen statements to council. Do we have anyone registered?
No one is registered.
All right. And under council member announcements and statements, I just wanted to share for folks that we do have some open seats on boards and commissions. One of them is which is the Board of Review, and an individual will be leaving us and actually moving out just outside the city limits. So they no longer qualify, and I appreciate the notice. And then also, we do have a number of alternate seats for some of the other 23 boards and commissions. Once our website is a little more operational, please check out the website on city boards and commissions if you have an interest. We take applications all year long. And again, we do have a number of those openings. So thank you very much. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your packet, there's the status of outstanding issues. We're going to, I'm adding the note about the public safety building facility study workshop for February 25th. We are working on the anti-vaping ordinance. Plan is for it to be on the next council agenda, but just the timing being what it is. There was an article just the other day about the state looking to do something that may preempt the whole thing, but I'm not going to let the state get in the way. We're going to put it on the agenda because council asked for it, and who knows how long it's going to stay. Murphy's Law will say the state will take action if you take action. If you don't take action, it'll take longer, so you might as well take action. And then, let's see, some of the other ones, the Lifeline rate, we're working on the water rates, and before they go to the PSC, we'll have a report from Ellers that we will share with council, so you'll know what the impact would be before we submit it. And if there's any other questions, happy to answer any of those. Oshkosh Avenue Bridge, we're still waiting for the closure date, and we're told it's mid-February. We haven't gotten any recent updates. That's been kind of continuing that mid-February date without much new information on that. So I would just say stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted as soon as we hear something new. There is a memo in the packet about the scanning station for the police department. This is for doing 3D analysis of crash scenes, so we can do it more quickly. There was actually a state bid for that type of thing, so we're happy to do that purchase. Mr. Davis already mentioned tomorrow evening is the Sawdust District Plan open house. That's going to be right here. That'll be for the general public, and then we'll have the workshop with council later on. Strategic planning session for tomorrow over at Oshkosh Corp. We'll be ready for you. We'll start with breakfast about 8. I'm going to have a brief staff meeting to address some of our data issues with our network being down, but please come and get breakfast and everything, and we'll fill you in as much as we know at that point. And then the last thing, which I don't want to downplay, Courtney Jenks is here from our Human Resources staff, Mr. Fitzpatrick from Administrative Services. We have our fourth quarter strategic plan report. It's kind of in preparation for tomorrow. We had forwarded you, there was a request for an electronic version of the executive summary, which gets into a little more details. We said we could make them available, hard copies on request. The electronic version will be certainly available when we get the network back up and running, but if you do want a hard copy, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll be happy to provide it. But it will be available once it's all said and done. Ms. Jenks does have a brief summary of where we are. Overall, if you take a look at the one that says strategic plan update, the title says report created on January 24th. It shows that 80% of our goals are on track. This is the halfway point. The fourth quarter is the halfway point. A couple that are have some disruption, and about 1/6 of them have already been completed. So, Ms. Jenks, you have anything you want to highlight in terms of our fourth quarter report?
Sure. I'll just highlight that under the objective 2.1, the sum disruption under there has actually been completed. That was under Mike Stanley's area. That's actually been completed. It was one of the areas the council had actually approved, so that's been
I'm sorry, which one was that?
Objective 2.1, it was one of their strategies and actions.
Oh, it says Dean Smith, and so you're saying it was Mike Stanley?
Yep. Dean is one of the owners and Mike Stanley is one of the owners, but Dean is the only one that shows up on the report, so. But Mike is one of the strategies and actions under that area, so that was his strategy and action. He notified me that that's been completed. It was one of the things that came to council and that you approved, so that's been completed.
So the disruption no longer exists?
Correct.
All right.
Yep. And the other areas, as Mark had noted, was under Brad's area, under 5.4, and then, so it's objective 5.4, and then objective 5.5 under Jeff Gilderson's, the library area. Those are the other two areas.
So those two are completed also?
No, those are just the areas of disruption.
Oh, okay.
Just to note. But again, we're only halfway through the strategic plans, so they're working hard on getting those completed.
On track includes a lot of projects or a lot of initiatives that are more of an ongoing type of thing. Even at this point next year, we may not necessarily say they're completed, but they're on track. So and those are the ongoing initiatives, and we'll be talking about some of that tomorrow. But I think we're in good shape. If you have a chance to take a look at the executive summary, you'll see, if you want to delve deeper, we have 40 objectives on this page, on these pages with the color circles, but there's 156 strategies and actions. So on average, about 4 per each objective. Now, some have only 1, some have 6 or 7, but if you take a look at the executive summary, you'll get a little more detail on each of those.
Correct.
Are you referring, where is the executive summary?
That was the one that was sent electronically to you yesterday.
Yes.
So
As soon as your email is back up, which Tony is working really hard, our IT manager, as soon as our email is back up, that will be in your email. That will be in your email that you will be able to review.
So can we bring some hard copies of that tomorrow, just in case?
I can make copies for you. I will make copies tonight, and I will give that to you
if we have
tomorrow.
hard copies, we can make them. We have a hard copy.
Yep, I have a hard copy, so
We'll
I'll
have-
make a copy
So,
for you.
just so I'm clear, executive summary with text, not just the images, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
The executive summary we provided last time, we didn't get a lot of questions, so just in the interest of saving paper, we didn't print it out. But
Okay.
this is the one that provides a great deal of detail, a lot of narrative. For each and every objective, there are multiple strategies. So you can see when Courtney refers to 5.1, there's specific items that are listed there that you'll know which one was, what's the term we use for that?
The strategies in action?
No, the yellow means
Oh,
disruption.
some
Some
disruption.
disruption, so it'll explain some of the disruption.
And we
Does
were
that mean
gonna,
delayed, basically?
yeah.
Okay.
In
So-
some cases, we might just say, things have changed and we aren't even going to even
Right.
pursue it anymore.
Sure.
But sometimes that's good to know.
Yep, okay.
And at a future council meeting, I will show you our website, a little bit more on the public dashboard, and be able to show you kind of how it looks for the citizens, so that you can click on it and actually dive down into the strategies and actions, which is really nice, because then they can see, what areas are we on track at, which areas are we completed at. So tomorrow, when we're working on, for 2021 and 2022, what are those projects that we're going to be working on that we'll be able to, we're going to be updating those in the plans too, so then they can see that when we update that on there. So, and the KPIs are also on the website too, so I'll be able to show that to them too at a future meeting.
Great. Thank you for all that work.
Yeah, no problem. Do you have any
Appreciate it.
questions on the KPIs at all? No? Okay. If you do, you can always contact me or John.
And Courtney will be there tomorrow, so during breaks or something, so.
Before you go, Courtney, I just wanted to say thank you I know you take ownership of this one, so keeping staff in line and keeping them reporting fast. We're only in week, 3.5 here of January. We've already got fourth quarter completed. And in addition to our timeline of pushing you on getting strategic plan set up early, just thank you for that and thank you for the effort, so.
All right, and then, council, I just wanted to note that I did leave a packet of information for each of you, gave it to city manager. There was an emergency meeting yesterday for East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission regarding Outagamie County's desire to possibly remove themselves from the Regional Plan Commission. Their county board is actually voting on that tonight. So hopefully, I just wanted to share with you what came out, what the handouts were, and some of the potential impacts to us. So,
And as we find out more, we'll
We'll
pass it
keep you
along.
posted.
I think the mayor has a meeting on Friday with that. Mr. Robbie was sort of waving me down as I was talking about the Oshkosh Avenue Bridge. He has a brief update for you, and I thought it'd be appropriate for him to tell you straight up.
Yeah, a couple of additional items that I hadn't been able to update the city manager on this afternoon. Had some phone conversations later this afternoon with DOT. The pre-construction conference for the Oshkosh Avenue Bridge is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, so I will be having staff attending that meeting in my stead while I will be with you at the strategic planning meeting. We hope to have more information about their schedule at that time. We do know that they are working with us to schedule the required local officials and business meeting. They are currently looking at the week of February 10th to schedule that meeting, which per the DOT specifications means they will probably be looking at starting construction late February, probably around the 24th. So they have a set, their local officials, local business meeting is required by specification to be at least 7 days prior to the start of construction, and that notice has to be delivered at least 10 days prior to the meeting. So we're working with them to try to get the meeting scheduled here in the building so that, you know, everybody can come here for that meeting. So those notices will probably be going out later this week. So they are looking at probably the late February start, and that local meeting will be the week of February 10th sometime is what they're currently targeting.
Councilmember Rugerauer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Still holding true to their desired end date for construction. There's still a hard deadline.
What the DOT has told me is the contract is a contract completion date contract, which is different from a time of construction contract. So with a completion date contract, your contract says you shall be done with this work by this day. If you fail to meet that, there will be liquidated damages or costs back to the contractor.
And then can we expect, not knowing anything until tomorrow, but at the next council meeting, can we expect a resolution from us authorizing the closure of that road for a wide berth of time? Because don't we have to also authorize the closure of that?
I've had a conversation with the city manager about that, and because it's the bridge that's being closed and they own the bridge, we didn't necessarily feel that we needed to do that. And if we did, it would have been via ordinance, not resolution. So, but we had that conversation last fall and felt that as the owner of the bridge, that was
under
their domain.
Sounds good.
But hopefully we'll have more after the pre-construction conference tomorrow, and look for some meeting announcements as it relates to the business owners and local officials meeting.
I'll add, just as a reminder, Mr. Collins worked with some of the local businesses because access is really going to be, you know, difficult for them. And we're working on some signage that, with them, they're reimbursing us for this, but Mr. Collins' group is putting together the signs just to make them.
Yeah, they put some posts in the ground before the ground got too frozen, and they're just waiting to put the signs up until we know more.
So we'll get good, they're directional signs.
Wayfinding signs.
Wayfinding, thank you, wayfinding signs. So, for example, Fox River Brewing, the dentist's office, things like that, so people know how to get there, because it's going to be, you know, it's going to look like they can't get there, but they certainly will be able to get there through the whole project.
And I'm assuming I believe we have some routes, some transit routes that are going to be impacted and changed temporarily
Yes.
during that time too.
Yes.
We'll be working through that as well, yeah, because Route 5, I believe, goes right across the bridge.
Will the Google navigation maps reflect those changes?
I'm not sure how Google gets their information for road closures. I know some of that stuff goes up pretty quick, because I had one day, you know, Streets Division posted some barricades around a damaged section of street, and that evening it was showing up as road work taking place on Google Maps. So I'm not sure how that information gets there.
All right, thank you.
But yeah, navigation systems are certainly going to be the primary challenge, so.
All right,
We'll keep you posted, but
all right.
that's it. Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
That's all I have, Madam
So
Mayor.
if that's all we have, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned.